My name is Leonard Abraham Mart. I was born 1934. I'm 81 years of age this year. Born in Vesco, grew up, was forcefully removed from that area in 1959. We find ourselves in Elsa's River and later removed to this area. I came here in 1972 and I've stayed here ever since.
Yeah, my name is Leonard Mart. I was born in 1961. I'm 54 now. Currently, I was a teacher. Currently, I'm an attorney, practicing sort of in conveyancing more or less. This is my uncle, and I'm staying in Strandfontein now for the last 28 years.
I learned about slaves in South Africa for the first time in history at school. But when I went to see my people, my family in Willemore in 1956, April, for the first time, I was introduced to the greater family. And there I was told that I have a slave history. There was my uncle was still alive, the old people, and I saw some of them. I also discovered that most of my people down there were educated people. They were teachers, working out on farms, assisting other people to be educated. So this is how I come to know of my history as a slave myself.
Through the school system, we became aware of slavery. In fact, it's all over our sort of South African history that we were taught in school. In fact, I was also at UWC, studied there for a number of years. So, and history is one of my majors. So, yes, I was quite aware of slavery and the groot trek and whatever. Yes, so. And we were also aware that, look, there is some kind of connection to the slave history, but it wasn't, let's say, until we met, we developed, and so on, that this thing sort of, the slaves took hands over over time, and that's it. We got to that point where we now try to see the link and try to find the link, but we were aware that, yes, we belong somewhere there. I'm trying to find the link. I see that there are sort of gaps missing. For instance, sometimes you get to a point and then you say, okay, maybe this is it. And then you find that in the annals it just says, ongetrouwd. Now you can't find the name of the child because the mother was ongetrouwd. And you say, oh my goodness. For instance, this morning I tried to find Gert Mart.
Okay.
Because Iziko Mart, his father was Gert Mart, and that would sort of put us into 1790. And I couldn't find Gert Mart. And I said, no, the history was only recorded from 19 so on and so on onwards. And okay, so now there's a big gap. I can't find Gert Mart. But we are grateful for the death notices that were sort of submitted to the master's office, because one of the great-grandpas, Iziko Mart, his death notice is there. And the name of his father is there, and all his children, which sort of tell us where we come from, and that puts us sort of inward and more. But unfortunately, I couldn't go back further.
I wish more that has been done so that people knew about slaves and the difficulties they encountered, more especially in the country, because it was through slavery which was perpetuated, which we experienced in the apartheid era. So if people knew more about slavery, people would have known their origins and how to move forward. Some of us were very lucky to, in spite of the difficulties in which we find ourselves, I found myself on the factory floor. And I had to educate myself on the factory floor, went for training in the ministry, later went to university. We got up, and so did the sons of my brothers. But not all people. If we knew where we come from, and we saw other people arising from the ashes, then it would have made a big difference.
Yes, I would say that from an academic point of view, a lot has been done to record the history. You can find it on the websites, you can go to National Archives, etc., etc. However, there are still big gaps, and a lot of information can be found to church histories, the church archives, and whatever. But I think the people on the ground, let's say the community itself, they have sort of forgotten that part of the history. Man, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. When people call me on the phone and I introduce myself and I said Mr. Martin, then they say Mr. Martin? How do you say Mr. Mr. what? I said January, February, March, Mr. March. So now they understand Mr. March. But there's nothing to be embarrassed about. We couldn't help it if our great-great-grandparents became slaves. Are you with me now? And the slaves, like you rightly said, made a tremendous contribution to this country. Groot Constantia wouldn't be there today if it wasn't for slaves. You've got one, let's say, farmer there, colonist, and he's got 29 slaves. Are you with me now? They built the land, not him. But of course, obviously, they will suffer the most.
Yeah.
And I think people must put proud, sort of, in inverted commas, in the fact that I'm not proud to be a slave. I'm not a slave, and I hate slavery.
Being branded as such.
However, I realize that this is where I come from, and this is you can't escape it, and there's no point in hiding. But you also realize the good things that they have done and the contribution you have made, and I think that it is on us to actually take those things forward. Unfortunately, given our history here in this country, like when slavery ended, the farmers the colonists were still in charge. We had so many years of apartheid, and apartheid has ended. But ask yourself, who's still in charge? Yes, we're not. So yes, we're no longer slaves, we no longer suffer under apartheid, but there's still a lot of work to be done.